numbered, and we've become fanatics about numbering and percentifying and counting and naming everything. You realise we actually discovered 3,030 new plants and trees last year. That's about how much we discover every year while we're destroying the world. We're still finding it, which is kind of bizarre, right? I mean, human knowledge started off looking at the stars and astrology and astronomy. That was like the ancient knowledge of mankind. And then they started to look at the earth itself, and then we got fanatical about numbering, percentifying and naming and classifying everything. And we're even changing the classifications of trees still. One of those 3,030 plants and trees that were discovered in 2015 was a legume tree, nitrogen-fixing tree in the Congo that's got a trunk like this. It's not a little thing, it's a big thing. And we just found it and named it, of course, and put it in a classification. What I'm trying to point out is there's not a lot of point to that, and there is a new knowledge, not just in permaculture, but in the academic cutting-edge world. We're now studying how things integrate. That's become the cutting edge of knowledge, integration. Now we're talking kind of permaculturist style, because permaculture is a multiple of disciplines, and it's more about the connectivity of those disciplines than the disciplines themselves. Now, so to connect the problem we've got with the solution that we need in the short amount of time that you've modernised, we've got an interesting scenario. While we've got the energy to do it, now you're not just going to drop fossil fuels straight away, and you're not going to drop modern systems straight away. But the sensible thing to do is to use that potential, use that technology, use the internet, use and start to conserve the energy you have while you have it and not waste it, and use it for the greater good. And the greater good is intentional design. And intentional design is intending to design our way out of this damn mess we're in. Because we're in a mess. Do you realise that Morocco just banned plastic bags? Morocco's going to be a plastic bag-free country. That's pretty incredible. That was a little bit of Facebook news I got this week. I've got to find all kinds of news items for my Friday 5 thing I've started. It's kind of made me a Facebook researcher and internet researcher for interesting things to pass around. But that's all we're doing anyway, is in passing interesting things around. So there's some very interesting potential here. Extremely interesting. And we can combine that together. Because there's kind of a development end game coming up. We're coming to a development end game, and this country sort of typifies that. It's been a very successful country, except in agriculture. But there's never been a successful agriculture in the wet tropics, except the one you've got. And that's not very successful, but it is successful. And that's oil palm. It comes from West Africa. And why would it be successful here? Well, because it's a palm polycultural forest. The original people here existed in a palm polycultural forest. And it's palm. Oh, man. And it's a liquid in the end. So we're fanatical about liquids. We have liquid fuels and liquid transport. Anything in liquid can be bottled up and shipped around the place. But it lasts the same time as your average agriculture. Your average monocultural industrialised approach to the landscape, which we now call agriculture, but it's not agriculture, because agrarian culture, agriculture means agrarian culture. Agrarian means soil, and culture means the enrichment and improvement of things. Well, agriculture today destroys soil. So it's not agriculture, it's anti-agriculture. So your oil palms, now I understand, can maybe make 70 years with 2 planting and then don't grow anymore. Well, that's typical agriculture, it's about 70 years. Your average agriculture today lasts 70 years. Check it out. You think I'm not saying, just research it and have a look online. All your great agricultural landscapes are destroyed within 70 years of modern modern monoculture. So you've just got, you know, a large element monoculture, a big farm covering a lot of the agricultural country. And I've been asked, while I've been here in the last 10 days, to set up a test block, set up a polycultural test block. I'm actually linked to some of my students who work for Rainforest Alliance and have been working on the same sort of things in Indonesia, combinations. I'm connected to Willie Smits in Borneo, who's been putting in polycultural systems to save orangutans, who's quite famous. He's getting a very good yield out of sugar palm. There are other palms. We don't have to be crazy about one palm. And there's other stuff that go underneath it. And there's all kinds of stuff we can do in agricultural, polycultural industry in Malaysia. If we can get away with this, get away from this industrialized direction. You know, you can't, if you industrialize nature, it ridicules you. It ridicules your stupidity. That nature just comes back at you and just drops you. There's no chance if you start taking industrial attitude to nature. It's an insult. I can understand why people have done it. It's okay. And we can repair everything we've done. You don't have to worry about that. We can repair things super fast. We have the technology, it's if we have the willpower, and we have enough people that want to do it. And we only have to start small to prove the point. So this is all very positive. And it's quite unique. You realise there's nowhere like Malaysia, 10 degrees north or south of the equator, all the way around the world. You tell me somewhere that's got the development and modern development of Malaysia anywhere within 10 degrees of the equator. I can't find anywhere. That's very hopeful in some ways because there's a lot of people suffering in this climate. There's a lot of people who haven't got your lifestyle in this climate. I know, I've worked in those zones and there's a lot of kids out there suffering. Those are the ones I worry about because they're innocent. And we have an obligation to help. We've got a position here where we can. Have a look around the world within 10 degrees of the equator. I mean, Singapore, yeah, I know. Right? But, you know, it's just on the end of the peninsula, isn't it, really? But the rest of it, wow. Go through Central Africa. Go through Central America. Colombia? Amazon? Yeah, tell me someone that's developed in the Amazon. I worked in Manaus. Exactly the same latitude as this. I wouldn't call Manaus developed. I haven't seen slums like they've got here. I mean, I've real slums. Favelas that are just awful. I stayed in them. I've got a bit of a twist about staying with extremely poor people to see what it's like. I don't like to teach unless I've experienced what it's like to sleep in their bed, eat their food, use their bathroom and toilet. Then I feel okay to teach. But anyway, I just want you to realise we're in an unusual position here. There's a potential. Anyway, we have this most unusual site and most unusual champion as well for the site. A Crown Prince who's in real support. I mean, I've worked with a gentleman, I've just stayed with him for nearly 2 weeks and I've been communicating with him for 8 months and I'm very surprised that someone in their position doesn't have to do this, is a real believer in what we're doing and has taken the course himself now. And he really wants to train Malays. And that's right on my thing. That's right on my thing. My theme as a teacher is, I want you, if you're my PDC now, and I'm talking basically kind of scenes like this, the only thing I'm going to tell you is, I want you to be a better teacher than me. That's my aim. I want you to be a better teacher, a better designer, and a better consultant than I am. That's my job. And if I can do that, great, because I'm going home. I've got no problem with going home and gardening and working on my farm, and we did. But none at all. I live in paradise. But I have an obligation because I kept getting a result. Everywhere I teach, I get people fired up, and I get people doing stuff and active, and I keep getting invited to different situations. I'm training teachers to take over, but then more jobs keep coming in. This was one I felt I had obligation to take up because it was so unusual. But my job here is to produce better teachers than me who are Malay speaking, who are Malaysian. And my brief here is to put a super team together to come over, and I mean, I've been able to get the A team of permaculture, the best, because I've described what we're at, where we're at, and who we've got behind us. And in my opinion, I've got the best polycultural plant expert in the world in permaculture. I've got the best bamboo expert. I've got the best town planner. I've got the best business consultant. You know, I've got the best architect. I've actually got the best equine permaculture expert, horse permaculture expert. You know, and everybody said yes, out of the best that I've inquired in the last 2 weeks. And their brief has got to come through me, and that is, we're going to train Malays to do the job as quickly as possible. Get out of the way. Give them the best mentoring, the best training, stay as advisors at a distance, and let it rip.
Hey, can we just say Malaysians? Why Malays specific, that ethnic group? Just Malaysians.
I don't know the difference. Thank you very much, sir. Malaysian. We'll get in the zone here. I don't know. Thank you. So I have to say Malaysian, right? My apologies. And that's what we're about. So this site, 25-year-old park, owned by the state, run as a not-for-profit, was a food park full of fruit trees in palm. So it's got blocks of fruit trees, conventionally planted, rambutan, dukkha, jackfruit, a lot of durian, mangosteen, carambola, jackfruit, large and small, breadfruit, and I probably missed some, Malay apple, and so there's this area, probably nearly 80 acres of the site is mowed monoculture blocks of fruit trees. It's got a wetland area, one area that floods that could go into chinampas, which are the most productive sustainable system ever documented in the history of the world, canal food system. And then rice paddy area, and we have an organic rice farmer on site who's already here from Suri Lovely Farm in north of the country, Captain Zachariah. There's an area that's been a public park, and it has an organic farmers market on Wednesdays already, small one, that's very nice. Has a lot of infrastructure, a lot of buildings. It has a large dam, almost a small lake, it's a dam. Some fish ponds that are already in position. Everything's out of maintenance, everything needs adjusting. All the buildings need adjusting. It has almost 100 acres of old growth forest on it. That's in very good condition. It has a campsite that has catered for up to 1,000 school children that very much needs renovating. Everything on the site needs renovating. It's kind of oldish and a bit run down. It's now, all chemicals have been stopped, all spraying's been stopped for the last 6 months. Full response already, that's quite a lesson. Of course the site's will be completely organic. Of course we're going to do water harvesting systems and water rehydration systems, because people are starting to complain about dry periods, because people are getting more than 12 to 15 days without rain, which is a drought in this climate. We're going to put in more aquaculture ponds. We're going to renovate best practice on all the buildings and retrofit the buildings to be more energy efficient here. And of course energy efficiency in this climate means orientate the wind first, full shade, and the sun should not touch the walls of the house between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, if possible. No thermal mass, outside kitchens that are well ventilated, safe water off the roof, and safe toilets. But we'll be putting in alternative waste systems, so we'll be putting biological cleaning systems for both grey water and black water. We'll be putting in solar hot water and solar energy electricity all the way through, standalone, mains grid switch, not pay back to the grid. We're not going to feed the dinosaur. We're going to use the dinosaur when we need the dinosaur, but not most of the time, which is the state of the art. That's how it's all gone around the world. I'm very lucky that I'm in connection with all the state-of-the-art practices. I wouldn't call myself an expert in any of them much, except earthworks, which has been one of my things. But I have connections. I'm a generalist that knows how to connect things together and connect people, and I've been very lucky and privileged to have worked with a lot of experts in all these fields. So this is going to be a best practice scenario, and of course I'm sure we'll be able to do it better in the future. But it's very interesting to be doing a retrofit and not a brand new site. Now sure, we could do the perfect first up. Can you retrofit what you've already got? Because we've got a lot to retrofit out there, especially when you look at Kuala Lumpur. Right? But so this is going to be an absolute classic. There will be education on site. There will be internships on site. There will be a bamboo production area and processing area on site for doing more than just normal bamboo, but also doing flooring and composite beams and structural strength combinations, which is all the modern stuff that's going on. And all your food gardens. There's small animals already. We've got 2 chicken tractors roaming around the site already. And we're already finding issues with mongoose we've got to deal with. But we have the same issues in Hawaii, where some of our experts are helping us anyway with that issue. So this is going to be very, very exciting. And it'll stand alone as a demonstration site that is, you know, way beyond anything else. Now, that becomes something that we can then help other people with in this climate. This becomes something that sort of stands Malaysia as a very forward-thinking place. It's something that can extend to all kinds of smaller projects here, but also help people in other places. Because you can become wealthy. True wealth has got nothing to do with money. Nothing at all. Some of the most miserable people I know are some of the wealthiest people I know, and I've worked for some very wealthy people. Most of them, I wouldn't say all of them, are not really wealthy in true wealth. True wealth is when you're really content with what you do. And to get there, to be healthy and to be engaged in something, time is something that is large, not small. Time is something that has density. Time is something that has quality. You don't own the future. It has not happened yet. You are dreaming. It might not be there for you, actually. This is the now. This is actually happening. You do own what you've done. If you look back on your memories and they've gone very quick and you can't remember much, it's because not much happened that was worth remembering. It's a roller coaster ride in your memories. The most exciting things when you are most happy are easy to remember, and the most frightening things or scary things you remember too. Everything in between is black and white, fuzzy, doesn't really have a lot of recall. But the ups, the emotions, the high emotions and the low emotions, they're technicolor. High definition, almost slow motion memories. They're things you can remember. If you engage in a meaningful life, time doesn't drag in the job. It's like, oh, I'm so bored doing this one thing, you know. You look at everything, one thing all your life, working life, and you know, 5 minutes before the end of the week, it seems like 5 hours. Yeah, you're laughing because it's happening, right? This is what happens. When you're engaged in something really, really meaningful, time, you don't notice time. Time's just happening. You're in there, you're amongst it, you're doing it, right? It's just, there's no relationship to how long it's taken. When you look back, it's huge. It's huge. That 5 years feels like 50. It's massive. Because it's all meaningful. It's all anchored. It's all relative. It all has something that relates to you. Malaysia didn't relate to me very much, 8 months ago. Now it relates to me. The last 10 days has felt like at least 10 weeks. I'm exhausted from thinking about Malaysia. It's just like blown out of my mind. Malaysia's got this massive, great big file in there now. And I love it. It's great. It's a real challenge. For me, it's like being in a frontline fight in an army to save the world. This is a battle we've got to win. Because if we lose this one, the lights go out forever. It's not a nice scene if it goes wrong now. And a lot of innocent little kids don't deserve it. Now, we can do this. There's no problem about doing this. Not at all. We can definitely do it. All the technology is there, all the information is there. It's whether you want to do it and you want to get engaged, and want to go for it. And you can start from the smallest. It doesn't matter. Don't think you've got to do something big. Don't think you've got to take on 300 acres, and try and design that whole thing. You learn the framework, and later you can scale it right up. No problem. We can do the whole country. I have no problem with doing the whole country at all. I'm not joking. It's just such a mass scale up. It's okay. We'll take it slope by slope, catchment by catchment. We'll clean every single river. We'll get the biggest river done. The whole lot. We'll start at the top, come down. If they give it to us, we can prove it. If that's what they want to do. This country's got the money to do it. No problem there. It's an interesting thing where we're at, if you want to engage in it. And that is my final point, because I've actually gone like hope. I've got hope for this, and it's made me happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have been involved. This hope makes me happy. It should make you happy. And the process of this makes you healthy. It's not just physical health. It's not just physical health. See, wealth comes from clean air, clean water, clean food, sensible housing, warmth and community. But our air is not very clean, especially in the cities. Our water's got all kinds of stuff in it if it's centralised. Our food's a joke. Its nutritional quality is terrible if we're not careful. But you still have your original food. You're a culinary culture. I've had the craziest meals since I've been here. I said, how hot is this one? What's that smell? I'm right, okay. And we like it now, right, okay. And we've made some Arabic meals. Well, I haven't. My wife's made Arabic meals, and you seem to like our Arabic meal. My wife's Arabic meal. But sensible houses. Wow. If fossil fuel goes off, what are we going to do? Knock holes in the wall? Because the air conditioner won't be working, And like I said, there's a set of golden rules for a tropical house. They're pretty simple, actually. This is one of the climates where the house design is pretty strict. One of the problems is you don't die from a bad house design, you just have an uncomfortable house if the power goes off, or an uncomfortable budget to pay for the power. Community warmth, well, it's easy to stay warm enough here. It's really cool enough. Are you cool enough? It's a heat stress climate, isn't it? you only have 10 degrees difference in temperature from the warmest to the coolest, like 32 to 24 is the average right across the country all year. Your daylight hardly changes. You know, you've got a constant humidity of 82 degrees. No wonder things grow quickly at 82% humidity. I've had to look all this stuff up. Yeah. But community, it's a neat community, isn't it? It's a mixed community. You still, you know, everybody goes back to their village. You know, like that's a phenomenon at a certain time of year. That's still community. That's neat. Health is not just nutrition. It's clean water, clean air, good nutrition, good sleep, enough sleep, regular sleep. No vices or very little vices if possible. And reasonable exercise. Practice sweat now and again, or quite often. And good stimuli, good conversation. People you can talk to are not antagonistic or challenging. One of the things about a permaculture project, and I live on one, I've lived on one for a long time. We produce all our own food, more or less. We serve 30,000 meals a year from our commercial kitchen to our students, to our interns, to our staff. We produce our own electricity. We deal with our waste with all compost toilets, all rebate water. We're only connected to the outside world by telephone, which is also the internet, and that's it. And nobody challenges you about what's permaculture and you think it works or anything like that. There's no challenges like that. We're all in agreement. That's fine. It's a stimulating conversation. It's intellectually nice. Everybody's in. And one thing we all agree on, and that's that. We have little things going on, of course, but that makes things healthier. That's what gives you health. And that's really true wealth. That's what gives you true wealth. And this intentional design system does that for you. And starting the journey where we're at now in Malaysia is a great place to be, actually. It's a really, really exciting place to be. And I think whether you want to be involved or not, it's actually going to happen.
Thank you, Geoff. That was inspirational, full of hope, and also a launching pad, I hope, for many of you in the audience who are interested to take part in the initiative that Geoff is involved with in Taman Pertanian in Kuantan. It's an exciting project, and we're going to give the space for you in the audience to ask further questions about the nature of the project and how you may be involved as well. Just for those in the audience who have questions, just a very easy way is to raise your hand, and we'll have one of our attendants come with a microphone, and then we'll have Geoff speak to your question. So, gentlemen in the black jacket.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sanam. I'm from Indonesia. Well, it's I'm quite inspired by Geoff Lawton. I saw your videos on YouTube and I also try to practice by myself and friends in Indonesia. And one thing I want to share with you is that first, I follow your meeting with Habib Umar in Hafiz, which is my teacher also. And one of his students in Indonesia who built the same madrasah, the same school with him is Habib Saleh Al-Jufri. The name is the same, Darul Mustafa in Solo, and I'm working with him now that we would like to to inspire all the madrasah in Indonesia mostly about permaculture and how to develop this type of approach on design to be included in the madrasah's planning. So, and we will make a series of PDCs. I thought once with Salah, because Salah is fluent in Arabic. Most of madrasah in Indonesia, they don't speak English. They speak Bahasa Indonesia and some Arabic. So yes, we like to be part of your project with Darul Mustafa in Tarim. We have Darul Mustafa in Indonesia. And actually, according to Habib Saleh Al-Kufri himself, this is the only Darul Mustafa branch for the entire world. There's only 2 Darul Mustafa, one's in Tarim, the other is in Indonesia. The second thing I want to share also that there is a very limited permaculture book in our language, and Indonesia is a little bit different with the Malaysian, because Malaysian colonized once by British, which then more fluent in English. We are from Dutch, so it's very rare for people from Indonesia to speak in English. So for people in Indonesia, especially people in madrasah, they can get the idea of permaculture. So that's why I initiated to make a book, a permaculture book, based on my experience and maybe with other references around the world, and of course from you, that this book will be written in Bahasa Indonesia. So that's what I just want to share with you and friends here, that the hope is inspiring me, and I want to spread the hope to Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to ask your opinion on this current culture about biodynamic in Australia, and also is applicable, is it in terms of organic farming, biodynamic, and after that permaculture, do you see permaculture superseding biodynamic or organic farming in the after 70 years or maybe more than that? I mean, is it applicable for more than 70 years of farming, agro practices, so to speak? Or do you see like permaculture will complement the practices in biodynamic? Because most of, I'm a bit confused about the so-called the agro politics about, some say biodynamic is far superior to
I gotcha. Yeah. Biodynamics is great. Agroecology is great. Agroforestry is great. Soil food web is great. Keyline farming, rangeland management, Alan Savory is great. The keyline farming was PA Yeomans. They're all great. They're all fantastic. They're all. No, let me finish. Because I get asked this question many times. They're all fantastic. They all are ethical. That's the thing. Ethics. Permaculture is an ethical design science. We design toilets. Biodynamics doesn't design toilets. We design car garages. We design villages. We design all kinds of things. We're not much about agriculture. It's just part of it. I use an analogy that's often used. What does organic gardening have to do with permaculture? What does organic farming have to do with permaculture? What does biodynamics have to do with permaculture? Well, they're kind of like a coat hanger in a wardrobe. And they're a coat hanger that probably has one of your favourite jackets on, or your favourite dresses if you're a lady. Now, there are many clothes in that wardrobe. And the reason you hang your clothes in a wardrobe is it organises the clothes. You can hang your clothes on a piece of string, but if the string breaks, they all fall on the floor in a mess. And that might often happen depending on the strength of the string. But a wardrobe is a self-organizing piece of furniture, and all the clothes fit in sideways on, and you can have all your shirts at one end, all your jackets at the other end, or all your dresses, all your skirts at the other end if you're a lady. You have a shelf at the top for your hats, and a drawer at the bottom for your socks and your undies, right? And you even have a mirror on the front or a mirror on the inside of the door so you can see what you look like when you're dressed, to see whether it matches, right? That's how you select your clothes. And then you can shut the door and it's all tidied up. We don't design coat hangers. We design wardrobes. That's what you have to always remember. You know, I could talk to you a lot about solar power, solar hot water, cook stoves. I could spend a whole lesson talking about thermal mass heaters that run on a small amount of sticks that you can grow forever on a little bit of coppice in the trees. And I could talk to you about, you know, battery storage, solar powered systems that I've run on for a long time, and which batteries are work. You know, we cover all kinds of subjects. Some of it, of course, is agricultural, because it's how you supply your needs in a way that benefits the environment. And you can do it biodynamically in permaculture, or you can do it in all those other methods, as long as they're ethical. We're an ethical design science. That's what we are. Bill Mollison once said that permaculture is a little bit like a revolution. I'd call it an evolution. Leave the R off. I think it's an evolution of the human mind in the way we think. When we started to read and write, it's said now the new neurological sciences can actually use ultrasounds to see one synapse of the brain fire. We think now that the human brain actually got a little bit bigger when we started to read and write. We started to use reading and writing to describe the world. There was a time when we didn't do that. I think the human brain will get a little bit bigger when we start to intentionally design our way out of this mess. Because if you ask anyone who's done a PDC, and I worry about this, they'll say to you, it was a transformational event. I see the world differently. I see it through these different eyes. And people say to me, you've ruined my view of the countryside. I said, I'm sorry, but it needs ruining a little bit so we can get it right. Now, Bill said that permaculture is a revolution disguised as gardening. He's a bit more contentious than I am. He can be, he's the founder. So that's the way to think about it. Let's not get in competition with who's the better gardener. I mean, I know some phenomenal gardeners. You know, I'm an average gardener, I'm okay. I'm an average seed saver, I'm okay. You know, like, I don't think of it as good or bad. I just think of it, of course I'm a gardener, that's just the way you live. You've got to know that stuff, how you provide your needs. What I'd like to say is I could grow a lot of food on a very small amount of area, and I think that's what we need to improve. We need to take up less and less of the earth. That's the challenge. Take up less and less of the earth's surface to maintain our needs. I don't think there's a population problem. I think there's an intentional activity problem. We probably need the amount of people we have on earth now all working the right way to fix it. You know? So reducing your footprint, reducing the area. I have a student, it's very interesting, a lot of people don't realise the smaller the area, the more production per square metre. Did you get that? The smaller the area that you're using, the more production per square metre. So I have a student in Sydney who produces 70 kilos of food on 20 square metres of balcony every year. That's equivalent to 35,000 kilos on a hectare. You can't produce 35,000 kilos on a hectare. You can't. Not possible. But she gets that production per square metre on 20 square metres. because you can be more intimate in the relationship. It's the relationship.
Can I say, is it, sorry, no, I'm trying because I got organic farmers who say they'll just poo-poo the whole notion about permaculture, and they say it doesn't complement the existing biodynamic or even organic farming kind of thing. So I'm just,
You can be very destructive as an organic farmer. I've seen some extremely destructive organic farms that are eroding landscape and enslaving people to work. There's one actually in California I've documented because it's on the way into a permaculture site. It produces, 40 tons of carrots per acre organically, and slavery Mexicans and pumping down the water table in the desert. It's trendy organic carrots, but no sustainability about it at all, and brings in tons of compost shipped almost 200 miles. It's organic, but in conventional patterning, it's industrial organic. Industrial organic, unfortunately, can be a bit of a smokescreen. Slightly better than chemical, but can be just as exploited. So that's where it comes into patterning and the relationship that maintains stability.
Good evening, Assalamualaikum. My name is Samsudin. I'm very impressed with following you, Geoff, since 2011. I put myself in the permaculture network, never get to attend your PDI course because I'm very much in the business consultant, very much mainstream. But what I realized, permaculture is never mainstream. It's like a cup as far as the general mainstream view, and but never determined to wanted to latch onto this a new setup that I consider still out of the mainstream, because when I wanted to get into this permaculture course, of course I've got to go through the internet, go through your PDI, but I was a consultant with MARDI, which is one agency of Ministry of Agriculture. Permaculture to them is never in their vocabulary. Try go to our agriculture minister, banks, for loans and whatnot. This is not mainstream. It's all the industrial mentality where water supply and whatnot is truly conventional mode. And here you are trying to produce water, you're going to tap us sunlight and whatnot. So my question is this, I'm very happy that you got Pantan Pertanian area, which is under Ministry of Agriculture, a very huge piece of land. So, but what I understood for you, PMI, the way you promote it, similar with Bill Morrison, is through individual households and whatnot. And that's where the majority of ordinary farmers in Malaysia is. Felda, for instance, there are more than a few 100,000 settlers. They own nothing less, maybe about 5 acres and whatnot. And if I can understand, you were promoting it through individuals or households where self-reliance, and where you tap the resources within your parameters of your land area. So how do you now, in your project that you are proposing for Malaysia, the way I see it is coming up through the mainstream, whose thinking is very mainstream, and whose idea, one of these days, it will get bogged down with getting supply of water, electricity through the conventional mode, and there will be issue of funding. And how do you now, through this project that you are trying to promote here in Malaysia, that you will go back to the real core people who has maybe even a backyard area of 5,000 square feet, that you want to go into producing the way you say on small effectiveness, high yield. By your definition, everything is considered yield, not just one particular monocrop. It's everything considered yield. Water you produce, energy you generate, and what's up. So I hope you try to put me into perspective in the context of your proposed development for Malaysia.
Yeah, no problem. The biggest project I've worked on mainstream-wise was $22 billion. And that's Masdar City in Abu Dhabi. It was a carbon neutral city built from scratch. I was employed by Edor, which is one of the largest landscape architectural companies in the world. And they engaged me. About 4 or 5 companies wanted to engage me before they got contracts. I thought Edor was going to get it, so I joined Edor. They got the job, and while I was working for them, they got taken over by AECOM, which is, I think, the 6th biggest civil engineering company in the world. So that's pretty mainstream. The Agricultural Department of America, I've been engaged with in the Soil Conservation Department, and they wanted to put 15,000 of their consultants through our online course. So I've worked for the UNHCR, the UNDP and the UNEP and the UN Habitat, and I'm consulting now with the FAO. In fact, I've been on a Skype conversation with a lady in Italy while I've been here about writing articles for the FAO. And it is about small farmers, because the FAO have admitted that only small diverse farmers will feed the world from now on. The large farmers won't actually be able to do it. So that's the mainstream. The mainstream's going towards smaller farmers. So 5 acres, these 5 acre plots that you've got around, and I've had a look at a little bit at those around Kuantan. They're very interested, because the future farms will be those 5 acre farms that will give us food supply, and good food supply too. Local food, extremely diverse in this. You're already diverse, but unfortunately not a lot of it's produced in Malaysia. It's brought in from Thailand and other places for no particular reason. When people want a better lifestyle and you've got land, it's just that it's kind of been disfavored or discoloured, or it's not looked up to. I mean, in Cuba, when Cuba got dropped by the and I've consulted in Cuba for the government on water harvesting. In Cuba, when the Russians dropped Cuba and they had to stand alone and go organic, and it's not perfect. Look, organic by sanction or permaculture by sanction is not the same as permaculture by choice. When you choose the intention to go this way, it's completely different to being forced to do it. But anyway, some of the highest paid people in Cuba were the farmers. They were paid more than the doctors, because they realised you don't need a doctor if you haven't got food. And if you have good food, you actually don't need a doctor that much. Right? What would you rather pay? The farmer for most of your life and not need a doctor, or take the risk of eating this limited nutritional food, which also has potential problems, and somewhere in your middle-aged to later part of your life be dealing with the last part of your life in terminal, scary illness, paying a doctor a lot. I spend a lot of time at a doctor. You're much better off paying the farmer. But the truth is, it shouldn't be more expensive. Organic food should be cheaper than conventional food. It's cheaper to produce if you do it right. And I haven't seen a culture that's got more potential than Malaysia to do it, to tell you the truth. You've definitely got the climate, you've got the potential, I've seen those 5 acre blocks of vacant land. There's a lot of 5 acres around town. I think there's a lot that people, what am I going to do with 5 acres? People don't know what to do. And they go in and mow it and put a fruit tree here and there with mown grass. Have you had a look at the forest? It doesn't grow like that. Only 2% of the sunlight gets from the canopy to the floor in these forests. The natural forest here has the more layers than any other forest on earth, the wet tropics. You've got to start looking at the teacher, the lessons there in front of us. I mean, it's just the way you do it. It's the way you design it. Exciting times, but I'm sure that there will be opportunities in the Ministry of Agriculture. There will be opportunities in the mainstream here, and I think Malaysia will influence a lot of other countries with it. And if we have to bring in reference from other countries, we can. Eric Toesmeyer is the plant expert I'm thinking about bringing in for plant species selection initially. He's a lecturer in Yale. He lectures on permaculture in Yale University in America. That's one of the top universities. We have a degree in permaculture, a degree program in Central Queensland University in Australia. I just received the honorary doctorate for Bill Mollison in the last 2 or 3 months. Those universities, I'm linking those universities to 2 universities in Malaysia now who are both interested in our project in Kuantan. Your universities are open to this. And if you open anything, you open any kind of permaculture course in a university, one phenomenon happens everywhere. They're full. You won't have any places in those courses, they'll be full. They'll fill. The young people want to do this. They don't want to do agriculture. Not conventional agriculture. Those courses are usually pretty empty. But they want to do this. This is exciting. So we need to we need to tap into those things. If we have access, we just go in professionally. I've tried to keep it professional. There are styles of permaculture that are a little bit alternative, to put it mildly. I've tried to stay away from that and go into the more serious, potentially scary side of it, where you've got to put the corporate camouflage on and go in and present properly and professionally, because that's what I think that's what we need to do. So I think we'll that will happen.
Thank you so much. Your talk and the Q&A has been really informative. I was going to ask you about whether you've done any desert, what do you call it, rectification, and you mentioned Abu Dhabi. Maybe you can share a little bit more about that. That's my first question. Second question is, you mentioned about retrofitting houses. In Malaysia, DIY is not exactly developed industry, so to speak. So the cost of retrofitting will be quite high. So maybe you can share a bit more about how we can address that, if it's possible, in Malaysia, because costs will be very high. Thirdly, as it just so happens, you mentioned 2 universities in Malaysia. Can you mention them? Which ones? Thank you.
Oh, I can if I can remember the names. It's not my job to remember the names. One of them's near Kuantan, it's in Penang, and it's south. Yeah. Pahang?
I believe one of them is
It's got
in Malaysia, Pahang.
Yeah.
The other one I'm not sure.
It's got an alternative energy mosque. It's at near the mouth of the largest river. I remember those bits. Pahang, yeah. What is it?
University of Malaysia, Pahang.
Yeah.
UMP.
Yeah. All right. And the other one is. Oh, here we go. The other university, Putra University, Malaysia. Putra. And the other one? UPM. Yeah, those are the 2 so far. Right. Yeah, we have a project in Jordan that's been going for a long time. I was consulting for an NGO from Japan on the Central Highlands deforestation in Vietnam. And I got called from there, Nico is a Japanese NGO, and I was working in Central Highlands, Vietnam, in the clear-cut areas for coffee. And it was pretty rough work. And then they called me into Jordan because they had a contract with JICA, is the government aid organisation of Japan, and Jordan has a large NGO called Johad, and Nadia was working with Johad. That's how we met. So in 1999, I got asked to go into Jordan and consult on 10 acres of land that they wanted to demonstrate sustainable farming, sustainable agricultural project. And it was like, you may have seen the video, Green in the Desert. It was like looking at the end of the world. So that's my first big project in desert. I'd done some desert work before, a little bit. Where I live in Australia is subtropics, quite green. But I've done desert work in Central America and South America a little bit. We got a big success in Jordan because we sort of turned around a very desolate piece of land. And it's really good to do that sort of work because it stands out, you know, in such degraded landscape. It's the lowest place on earth as well. You look up to Jerusalem and Jericho's right in front of you. So we're 400 meters below sea level. Very high temperatures. And then that led to other work. So one of my students came in, funded by Princess Haifa in Saudi Arabia from Jeddah. And her, she was been involved in aid for a while, and her brother is the governor of the state of governance of Mecca. So we've got a project in the governance of Mecca. It's a large project, and it's called the Al Baida project. So Jordan's 150 millimeters of rain. The Al Baida project is 75 millimeters of rain. It's very small, 3 inches of rain. That's going pretty well in a very hostile area, resettled Bedouins. Then since then, I've worked, as our brother at the back here from Indonesia said, I've worked for Habib Omar in Dara Mustafa in Hadramaut, and that's only 70 mil of rain. And we have a project ready to go there. We do a lot of work partnered with Muslim Aid Australia, who are absolutely exceptional as an aid organisation, incredible. Some of the best figures and numbers we've ever seen. And all their staff have taken my course. But they are very, very, last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, their work has absolutely shone out. You know, they've tripled their donations, and they've reduced their administration down to a quarter. They're at 4.8% admin, which is unknown. Those are our main desert work. We've done, and on the 19th of August, we go to England, but then we're 2 months in Jordan. We're 2 months in Jordan every year. So we do quite a lot of desert. And houses, if you're converting a house or retrofitting a house or building a house, your architect should be paid for how much money you save in energy it costs to run the house. If it's a brand new house, it's the lack of embodied energy to build it, like the materials and the energy of manufacture of the materials and how long they last. It's always, whatever you buy in equipment or materials, it's the energy that it takes to manufacture it and how long it will last. That's the energy equation. Now then, with an architectural building, it's then the other figure you add on is the energy it takes to run the house. Because that's how you should pay your architect, and no other way. Because that's what he's worth paying. Otherwise, you're paying him to cost you more money. Now, with a retrofit, you're not building, you're adding extra materials or taking materials out. But it's a similar equation. Any materials you add, the embodied energy of their manufacture over their lifetime, and then the energy the retrofit saves you in energy to run the house from then on, or the reduction in energy. You need the baseline data of what it costs to run your house now or wherever you live in, and then how much are they going to save you by doing this retrofit? And that's a business. Nobody started one, I expect, that's all. It's like reed bed grey water. I mean, I'm surprised there isn't reed bed grey water businesses. There are, we started them in Jordan, they're booming. I'm surprised there's not a lot of solar hot water on your houses. What, you're short of sun or something? I mean, like, why are you paying electricity for hot water? It's free once you've bought the right equipment. There is, I did see some today. There was one set of units had flat plate on it. I tell you what, evacuated tube hot water would boil here. If you were allowed to let it come out of the tap, which you're not in Australia, you have to put a governing valve on it. But you wouldn't have to boil a cup of tea. The sun would boil it for you in the middle of the day. Imagine how much energy that'd save. No reason why we're not doing it.
These cold showers I have a problem with here.
Yeah.
The water's never cold enough.
You just come from the wrong origin, that's all. What ladies here don't want hot water? If you're a lady here who doesn't want hot water, put your hand up. See, there are no ladies putting their hand up. I've asked this question in the topics before. Which ladies do not want to wash their clothes in hot water? Oh, well, all right. You revolutionaries, you.
We actually built a house in Malacca, which is the material is from the reclaimed wood from old houses, right? And my husband actually tried to make hot water by doing tubes of copper that he asked this person to do it for him. The problem is we can't find a plumber to do it. Nobody understands what we're talking about. That's the problem in Malaysia.
Okay.
We can't find the expert to do it.
Okay, right. Have you done it yet?
We got the frame and we got the copper going around. We can't find a plumber who understands to put it on top of the roof and to get the system going.
Okay.
We don't understand it.
You can use black irrigation pipe. Plastic black irrigation pipe. It will work. Now, here's the trick. Do not go up and down. Go from the top, side to side, coming down. Put the water in the top and go side to side. Don't go up and down because the water will get that hot. You'll get air pockets in the top loop.
He said that he make it like this.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yes.
And if you're going to do copper, of course, paint it matte black.
The problem, we got all that stuff. The problem is we don't have the ground insulation. We don't understand it.
You just have to learn to solder the copper and you do it yourself. YouTube. Yeah.
We are all two old people that can't do it ourselves.
Okay, well, if you can get YouTube, we'll organise a course. We'll come up with we'll sell a course to get it done. Right? You can also, just while you're on that subject, I don't know if anybody realises, but if you get a 4 to 6 inch metal pipe and stick it out of your roof and paint it matte black and put a rain cap on it, it'll get very hot and it will suck hot air out of your roof.
Yeah, that works.
It's a solar chimney, so there are lots of little things you can do to make reduce your energy cost and increase your comfort level, and they're not that difficult.
But the thing is, the problem is we don't have the manpower to do it. Because we try to ask the local farmers how to do it, they don't understand what we're talking about. And they, at first they say, okay, we'll do it. And then after, when it comes to doing it, they don't want to do it.
Okay, so what we have to do is, with all these things, we have to think creatively. We have YouTube, we have cameras. In fact, you can do it on a smartphone. We can have a Malaysian video how to do it and you show it to your plumber. Once we've got it online, and we can be creative about these things. And, you know, and that's the sort of thing the project can do too, is make you know, like do things just to make it easier for other people to copy. We're not about locking it up, we're about open copyright. Let's everybody, let's just do it. No, it can be done. And especially with the... Yeah, talk to this guy.
At this point, we're going to have to wrap it up. We're just going to have to request those who have questions to maybe redirect them later on. I'll just ask though, Geoff, because a large part of our audience is city dwellers, I'm assuming perhaps most, if not all. And as urbanites, maybe not all of us may have access to Taman Pertanian type projects, which are large scale. So for us who are interested in urban agriculture, to do some efforts in the city, in the environments where we live. And I just say this because I'm a member of a team called Urban Hijau, and we have a urban farm in TTDI that we try and manage, and we try and use as an example for others. But maybe if you can give us a parting message just for what we should take in the city in this Malaysian context, maybe a few last words on that topic.
Yeah, I think in the future urban agriculture will be almost an enforced thing, because there's some very interesting facts about urban agriculture. Like one I mentioned there, my student with the 20 square metre balcony. I challenge you to crunch the numbers with me. And you just do it after, when you're online or whatever. Just crunch the numbers. Right, go to the Path to Freedom website, which is a garden in Pasadena, Los Angeles. Path to Freedom. And look at how much food they produce on the area. Go to Deep Green Permaculture, which is my student Angelo Ecological in Melbourne. It's a Mediterranean climate. He produces on 60 square metres of garden. He's got 40 fruit trees in there and about 300 varieties of fruit and vegetables. He's documented every gram of food that it's produced. And it's all on my video, on one of my videos. I even put the overlay figures there. He's a pharmacologist by trade. He's now a full-time permaculturist, advising the local council and working in an organic nursery. It's phenomenal how much people can produce in a small area. And go to one that I've just forgotten. It comes to me in a minute. happyearth.com, which is another site in Australia. There are lots of urban gardeners out there doing incredible production per square metre. Just check them out. Doesn't matter. All right. Now, if we adopt urban agriculture, then we will also need perimeter urban agriculture. It's called, we call it peri-urban. Like surrounded, and your 5 acre lots are all the way around that. That's a 5 acre lot thing, right? That's all. Now outside of that, and integrated in between the 5 acre lots, you're going to need forestry, and we need to be permanent foresters, because actually trees do regrow. They're not like fossil fuels, they're not finite. If we care for trees and bamboo and other living resources, we can produce most of our needs that we presently rely on non-living resources, and finite resources we can get from living resources. So follow me out here. Urban agriculture, perimeter urban agriculture, rangeland and forestry. In other words, there are larger animals out there, and you have very interesting local cows here, and some very interesting goats I've noticed. The goats don't easily grow in the tropics, so I want to find out what you're doing with those goats, because they normally get a lot of intestinal problems in the tropics. You've selected. Your cows breed faster turnover calves quicker, but they're smaller and a smaller birth rate. It's an interesting equation. I wouldn't be trying to cross them with Brahman. Anyway, if you now go, let's look at agriculture. Agriculture is at a great distance. You're actually trucking stuff in from another country. Most people are doing that. They're moving stuff right around the world. So we're moving stuff all across the world at great expense of energy and cost. And enormous amounts of it is wasted in transport and sale. Just look at the figures on how much agriculture wastes. It's about 85% loss of what's produced at the farm end to what gets to the consumer. And now let's look at the quality. Now, what have we done to food? Wheat, just wheat, which really is a dry land thing. Wheat is 1/12 as productive and 16 times less nutritious. It's 12 times more productive in weight, but 1/16 the nutrition. So we've done that a lot. We've put up the weight, we've dropped the nutrition, and then we processed and dropped nutrition. And in a lot of countries, you can't feed your pets what you're allowed to feed your children. In a lot of first world countries, there's higher regulations on pet food than children's food. That's disgusting. Now, okay, listen to this, and just, this is going to sound contentious, but I challenge you to go and find the numbers. We can produce, and I'm using my words very carefully, we can produce the same amount of nutrition on 4 to 6% of the equivalent area we now use to produce in agriculture. Now, what I'm saying is nutrition and not food, and I'm not saying we want the same area, I'm saying the equivalent area. So in other words, it has to be urban, a perimeter urban, or outside of that rangeland and forestry. 4 to 6% of the equivalent area, we can produce the same nutrition. We don't want the same land, we want the land urban, perimeter urban, rangeland management, rangeland and forestry outside of that. Now, that means we're all employed meaningfully. We've got hardly any transport costs. We've got minimum food miles, minimum food time, minimum food guilt. It's fresh, it's local, it's ours. We are the people of the land. The land is ours. The food is ours. It's our fingerprint. Our products are ours. It's our identity. It's your personality. It's who you are, your product. And you can improve the ecosystems while doing it. This is the equation. There's no other equation to go for. There's nothing else to aim for. You should be creating soil as you produce product, not destroying it. The soil should be getting better in quality and larger in quantity. That's the challenge. It should be soil creative, ecosystemic agriculture. Where's our organic farmer? That's organic. That's the real organic. It's ecosystemic soil creative. That's the new label. That's the label we want. That's the label to buy. You know, it's creating soil from an ecosystemic process. That's beyond organic. Thank you very much.
Well, I think the talk today was in equal parts thought-provoking and inspirational, and for that we owe Geoff a great deal of gratitude. So perhaps we can give one more round of applause. Not only for Geoff, but also for Tengku Amir, who heads the Taman Pertanian project, we'd like to convey our thanks. He could not be here today, but we appreciate him bringing Geoff here and giving his wealth of experience to us, for this occasion and for other occasions, hopefully in the future. On behalf of Murujan, I'd just like to call Giovanni here to give Geoff a small token of appreciation. On that note, we'd like to thank you for coming here tonight. I'd just like to remind you that the Permaculture Design Certificate, the PDC course, will be organized by Murujan this October in Taman Pertanian. So those who are attending the course will get a first-hand view of the site, the compelling site which Geoff is working on. So it's an opportunity not to be missed. And also, for further developments, you can go to murujan.com. There'll be a lot of exciting activities in the future. Just last week, we held the first Intro to Permaculture course in Malay. We're hoping to have further courses in the Malay language as well, which goes to one of the concerns of the questioners. So please get involved, and please get inspired, and please, we hope to see you at future events. Assalamualaikum.